Hi, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 2.5 plus DLC for Clickteam. Now, this was quite interesting. There was a lot of talk about Fusion 3 coming out and a lot of hype around that, to the point where we've seen it, we've seen an iteration of it, and then the whole news cycle around Clickteam went very, very quiet. I think that what has happened is that the scale of Fusion 3 is just too big for the team that they have and the money they can put into releasing this. And they've probably made the right decision to go, look, we'll collect what we've got so far and we will release this as DLC. Now, the DLC, I think, is about sort of $50, $60, something like that. I don't know, to be honest. Let's have a look. Look on Steam. How much is it? It is £46 as an add-on. So that's about $50. Don't quote me on that. It will fluctuate anyway. Is it worth it? Well, I'm going to go through what you get because I bought it straight away. As soon as I get a notification saying Clickteam wants more money, they can have it within reason. Because I feel that for me, it's been totally worth it. So I bought it straight away, and we're just going to go through the features of it in today's video. Now, as always, it's really difficult for me to remember what is new and what isn't. First of all, because I've had this DLC for quite a while, so I've kind of got accustomed to using it. And secondly, because I don't necessarily know that it has all the features it has. So I've gone to the website and just brought up the DLC overview, feature overview. Now, one of the biggest things that they're touting is that this DLC will make the whole process quicker and more zippy. And part of the reason behind that is that they're now leveraging DirectX 11. If you don't know what DirectX is, basically the DirectX is the Microsoft framework that links your code to a Windows game, right? And so when you're building an application like Clickteam on Windows, using the most modern DirectX, or the most modern that you can, is going to be good because it's leveraging all the modern techniques, all the modern technologies, right? I don't want to go too deep into that because A, it's just not the point of this video, and B, I don't really know all the ins and outs of it. DirectX is like a game engine, but it's not at all like a game engine. That's a really good explanation of it. But you just need to know that the more modern DirectX version, the better. Therefore, if you need to buy this to get the more modern DirectX version, and DirectX 11 is very good, then it might be worth it to you. Right, let's go through from the very top. And a lot of these are very, very small changes that you will notice because you don't notice it. That there were times before you got frustrated that you're not getting frustrated anymore. Okay, so bear that in mind. A lot of these are, what's the expression? Quality of life updates, right? So they're there to make your life easier. Like, if you're thinking that this update will suddenly allow you to make a Doom clone, no, it's not that. It's the same beautiful program, but just made more efficient. So they're saying stuff across the board about loading times, saving times, being quicker, and that's to do with a lot of the back-end work they've done on optimizing their code. This is me imagining from what they're saying, sort of reading between the lines, and them using DirectX 11. So the first thing that is new, that's not to do with optimization, is there's now a find all option, which is amazing. So instead of the rudimentary find all, which I think just looked at the object name, it will now look at everything. So it will look at obviously the object name, the value, the data, events. We'll just look at everything. The profiler is another thing that I'm sort of surprised we haven't had before, but I'm really glad we have now. And it's there for debugging your code and seeing what in your code is making your game run slow. I don't know if it's perfect, but it's such a good step in the right direction. because if your game is running really slow at some point, you need to know what it is that's holding it up. And it's normally a dud loop. It's normally a loop that is looping through way too many things. You saw in the latest, or one of the latest projects we did on, what was it, I can't remember, pathfinding, that the game just didn't run because the pathfinding object was not designed to do what I wanted it to do. And the profiler, I probably should have used the profiler to find that out, although it was pretty obvious what it was doing. This is why you need to test your games often and regularly. Do a change, test it. Do a change, test it. And there's something else that will help you do that, which is now, actually, it's the next one on the list. You can run app from current frame. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on, you can currently do that. Not quite. You can run the current frame, but then it stops. What this allows you to do is run the whole application, but starting from the current frame. So one of the issues is, say if you did level 1, level 2, level 3, right, and you want to work on level 2, you would run from level 2, which is fine, but you wouldn't be able to see how your progress from level 2 carries on to level 3 because the application would just stop. What this allows you to do is start from level 2, but then carry on to level 3 and see whether the power-ups in level 2 that you've just added sort of break the game later on, etc. Really, really useful. You can now open the folder that the MFA file is based in. Oh my goodness, why was that not a thing? I didn't even know that wasn't a thing, but there we go. The progress bar is now displayed in the Windows taskbar. Again, just quality of life. You won't notice it. It will just now do it, and you'll be like, oh, okay. Which is the sign of a good quality of life update. Objects are alphabetically sorted in the workspace window. Again, why they weren't before, who knows. So that's all the stuff with the general UI. There's stuff with the properties. The maximum number of alterable values and strings are now 260. I don't know why they're 260. It's normally 255, but anyway. This is amazing. I think it's 260 probably because it's additional to, what's it, the 9 that we used to have. But this is brilliant. So you're not having to create a whole load of data objects the whole time. You can just have maybe one data object that holds a lot more values. File name property is now autocomplete. Again, quality of life. You won't notice it. It will just work and it will make you quicker. Open folder. Okay, cool. A new command in property label. Context menu. Okay. Now onto the frame editor. Now this first one is quite interesting because I've not used it, but if you're on the frame editor, which is like where you drag the objects onto the frame, right? The graphics stuff, right? Say if you want to see all of the events on an object. So say if you've got an object and you're like, oh, I'm not sure this is part of my game, or I don't know what this does. You can right click on it and say, what's it say? Show object events, and it will take you to the event editor straight away, and it will show you all the events for that object. That is really, really cool. There's stuff about behaviors. Select all the instances of an object. Select all objects with the same qualifiers. So qualifiers have had a bit of an overhaul here as well. So what qualifiers are? So say if you've got a whole load of different enemies, but you kind of want them to act the same. Yes, they've got different graphics, they've got different sprites, they're different, some different behaviors, but they're generally, if you hit them on their head, they will die, right? So there's some general actions you want to apply to all of them. You can put a qualifier on all of them and say, right, these are all enemies, and so if the player stamps them on the head, kill the enemy, right? And we've used that on some of the projects we've done. You can now change the icon of that qualifier. Now, this is really, really big for me because I hate the icons they have. They never fit the purpose I'm using for them. So this is really, really cool. Select all objects with a given qualifier. Again, just all quality of update, like quality of life update. It will just make your life easier without you even noticing. Insert new object dialog box allows you to select objects that are compatible with a certain platform. Okay, so when you insert an object, you know that screen where you just double click on the frame editor and it comes up with all of the objects you can use. Well, you can't use them all because, say, if you're making an iOS game, you can't use Android objects or HTML5 objects at all. So you can now filter them and say, look, I don't want to see them. Why would I want to see something I can't use? And it gets really, really irritating because obviously you can't use them. So now you can filter for the platform that you're currently targeting, or platforms, so you can have more than one. So if you're doing an iOS and HTML5 game or iOS and Android game, you can just tick those boxes. That's really cool. You can now drag multiple items from the frame to a folder in the object window. There you go. Again, you just will expect it to do that, and now it does. The event editors had a bit of an overhaul as well. So the events can now have children. I've used this on one of my videos where you can just have an event, say, is the counter bigger than 5? And then you can put a whole load of events under it. So as long as the counter's over 5, do all of this stuff. In the past, you had to put that, you had to kind of maybe put it in a fast loop, or you had to put that event in every single one of the events beneath it, right? That's a game changer. That's really, really cool. And it's very effortless as well. It's a bit clunky, but once you know how to do it, it just works like groups effectively. The toggle event mode is really, really helpful as well. So whenever you've had is the flag on, right? You can now just right click and just negate it and say, is the flag off? Oh my goodness, like why that wasn't there before, I don't know, but it's not there now. Custom qualifiers, which we talked about, base frame option. So you can now start the application from a different frame, I think that's what that means. Again, why would you want to just move the frame onto frame 1? But anyway, you can. There's also some stuff with copy and pasting that makes things easier. There's now a font tab, which is really cool, and a sounds lab, which allows you to export several sounds at once. Again, really cool. So the runtime it just says a whole load of optimizing things. We've optimized this, optimized that. There's new preload image. I'm just gonna pause it a second. Sorry about that. The bin men have arrived, so it might be a bit noisy, but I think we're all right. Now, the only other thing to say is that the MFA files will be backwards compatible. So if you use two computers, one has Clickteam 2.5, the other has Clickteam 2.5 Plus, you should be fine, unless you use child events. Child events are the only thing that aren't backwards compatible. I generally would make sure that you just keep it to 2.5 Plus anyway, because you never know what they're going to add down the line. If there's going to be extra DLC, is there going to be an update to it? Is this worth getting? It's really difficult to know because, like, I mean, 45 quid, $50, whatever, to a lot of people is a lot of money. I mean, that's the price. It's almost, well, it's the price of a Switch game. Like, it's the price of a brand new game. But it's one of those things that if you're going to get it now, because it's going to save you time. It's going to make it a lot quicker. If you use Clickteam a lot, it might be worth the investment. Is there anything in it that's absolutely game-changing? Absolutely not. No. It's the same old Clickteam. And I think it's one of those things that all of the stuff in it will make your life easier, but there's nothing in it that I go, oh, I could not live without that before. It's just a matter of making it quicker. The child events are a good example of that. That will make coding, or it has made coding, that little bit quicker. And I suppose if you add that up over, the year or so, I can't even remember when I bought it, but whenever it came out, and you add that up, it's probably made it worthwhile, all those optimizations. And you want to make sure that you have the most modern DirectX that you can, because that has optimizations as well. But let me know. Have you updated? Are you worried about updating? Are you not going to update based on this video, or are you going to update based on this video? And what are your impressions with it? There's a lot of changes in Clickteam that I don't know, kind of irritate me. The icons really irritate me. Like, it was just changed for the sake of change. And I would like your feedback on whether you like the new icons or not as well. But the rest of it, I think Clickteam's absolutely moving in the right direction. It feels a much better program. It feels a much more modern program. One of the issues with what was it, Games Factory? A lot of you said that it was Games Factory. I think it was. Oh my goodness, I hope that's right. So Click and Play turned to Games Factory. A lot of the issues with Games Factory and Multimedia Fusion was that the application just felt dated, and it felt quite old and stuck in the past kind of thing. This now feels a lot more modern, and I'm assuming I can hold down Shift or Control and select multiple things and nest things the way I want to nest them and stuff. And this one just allows you to do it, whilst the older version doesn't. So yeah, really difficult one whether to upgrade, because if it was sort of £5-10, I would say absolutely upgrade, but it is a substantial amount of money. So I'm interested to know your thoughts on it. But otherwise, thank you very much for enduring this fortnight of me chatting. As I said, we're on to new projects. The busyness I found myself in is still ongoing, but I'm going to try and make sure I save sort of 10-15 minutes a day next week, just to talk to you guys, because this is the fun bit of my day. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.